How's it going, everybody? Today I'm going to show you how to remove a gimbal bearing on an OMC. It's also the same process for removing it on a Volvo Penta. So today we're going to use it using a traditional gimbal bearing puller tool. You may have seen on my prior video how I used basically just hammer and a punch to get out the gimbal bearing. That's it's a good way to do it, but it's not very practical for my everyday subscribers. And the reason I mention that is not everyone can completely disassemble their transom plate and get behind their motor, because after all, who has that kind of time, right? So anyway, that's what brings me to this current video here. This is your traditional gimbal bearing puller tool. Believe it or not, it's the same tool that Mercruiser uses and a lot of other brands. And the only thing that's really bad about this is how expensive this tool is. Now, one of my subscribers, he did a video on how to use this tool, and I watched it and I said, "Ooh." It was I'm not gonna lie, it was really painful to watch. So if you all know the type of videos that I put out, they're typically pretty detail orientated, and I want to kind of do the same thing with this one here. Now, some of the other things that we're going to do today with this video is I'm going to show you how to replace the oil seal as well. And we're going to go with a gimbal bearing. You'll see this gimbal bearing here, just so all you all can see. It's part number 18-2100. Now, if you saw my prior video, there's actually the notch side, which most people will put it in this way. It's how I have mine in right now. And then they have this way where you have the dot facing out. They're actually, these new ones are actually the same. This side and this side are the same exact. So they're no longer different like the original one that I had put in on my prior video, just so you all know. But yeah, just for fun, I'm actually going to go ahead and install it this way. Mercruiser users will tell you install it this way, and a lot of traditional OMC users will tell you to install it this way. It's kind of an old school methodology, because the whole point of these notches are so you can actually punch this bearing, this inner bearing, out without having to take out this outer aluminum race. So kind of clever, but no one really does that anymore. So as you can see, yeah, they're pretty well, you can go either way with installing it, and it doesn't make a difference. The big thing, as you saw in my original video, is you need to line up where your oil, where your grease fitting goes, which is right there. So you want to make sure that that is lined up first, and that'll be setting yourself up for success that way. So anyway, let's go in the back of the boat, and we'll first start with installing the plate, and we'll talk about what this part of the tool does, and as well as this whole piece. All right. Okay. So I actually have the new gimbal bearing on the puller. It's a very simple device, and basically what it does is this part here, you see how when I squeezed it, it fell? Yeah, so that's how you get it in there. The instructions will tell you to use a soft rubber mallet, and it does have a chamfer on that, so to speak, so you could technically do that. And it's an old gimbal bearing, right, that you're going to be pressing this into, so who cares, right? Anyway, for the process of this video or purposes, I'm going to just squeeze it to put it in there. But yeah, all it does is it slides behind the gimbal bearing just like that, and then there's a rod that goes down the middle like that, and it keeps pressure on the inside of that race on that gimbal bearing. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. Okay, yeah, that's all it is. You can see holds it pretty steady right there. But yeah, so anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the plate that goes on the out-dried piece here. Okay, pretty easy. It's got notches on it. Simply put, it just goes like that. Now, of course, there's going to be some play in here as you're trying to get it centered. Just fine. Just get it in place just like that, and then go ahead and get the main rod ready. Okay, so just to follow the proper order of operations, you want to slide this in through the hole there. You probably can't see it so well, but that's okay. And like I was saying, this is where they tell you can use a rubber mallet. If you've got small enough hands, you can actually fit it inside there and just kind of squeeze it, or like I said, if you want to hit it with a rubber mallet. I'll just take a couple swings with my hand here. Okay. Anyway, so you can tell now that I made it past, it kind of pulls back a little bit like that. And then you can take your plate, just like that. And we'll get it started here. Kind of tough to do it with one hand. There we go. And we'll get the thread started first of all here. All right, let me get this started for you. Okay. So once you got it started, now what you get to do is go on the really long journey of, sorry about that, yeah, you get to go on the real long journey of turning this thing until it threads all the way down. It's going to be a while, so just be patient. You can see in here we're making progress. Alright. And you will know you're getting close. See that? You hear that rattling sound? That means it's kind of bouncing around in there. Alright, I'm going to turn this a little bit more off camera here, not to bore all you. And then once I get to where it's nice and snug, we'll go ahead and put in the rod on the back here. Okay, so we don't got much play anymore, so we're going to take this rod, slide it all the way in there like that. It's kind of, what that'll do is that'll immobilize the gimbal bearing in there, keep it from moving around here quite just yet. So let's see. See, we still got a little bit of play. Yeah. Now, one thing to remember, which I just made the mistake of, is these are reverse threads, which was that was kind of weird. I was wondering why I wasn't making any progress. How about that? Reverse threads, huh? Oh, I don't know if you guys watch a lot of videos of mine, but if you haven't subscribed already, definitely subscribe to my channel. We've got a bunch of other videos coming up pretty soon. Helpful things like this, so all my users will, or subscribers rather, kind of understand how to do a lot of these little projects. All right, that is, got a little pull on it. Got the rod. Yeah, nice and snug. It's about as much as I'm going to be able to do by hand. All right, next step, crescent wrench. Now, the other thing I have to talk about before I throw this crescent wrench on, if you've seen the video out there already, it was kind of painful to watch that part where one of my subscribers decided to take you to the store and show you the different sizes he thought this this little guy was up here. I'm gonna make it all easy for you. Boom. I mean, it's playing around an inch and 1.2. So let's take a look in metric for all you Guys out there who aren't familiar with the metric system. I just zeroed it out. Let's try that again. All right. Hold on one second. All right. There we go. Tough to do this with one hand, I'm telling you. So we got 30 millimeters. And then if you want to translate that over 2 inches, so 1.2 inches. All right. So there you go. If you have a crescent wrench, just put a crescent wrench on there. Just remember one thing as we're turning this, it goes counterclockwise. You'll figure it out pretty quick if we start going the other way with it. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my crescent wrench like this. And we're gonna go ahead and start turning it. Now, OMC recommends when you're doing this, and when I mean doing this, I mean installing a gimbal bearing. They will tell you that you need to put gasket sealing compound around the gimbal bearing. When I installed mine originally, if you recall, I used basically like axle grease on it. Not to say that I kind of figured one day I would need to be taking the gimbal bearing out, but it's definitely going to make this process a little bit easier. And I could tell you right now, just by putting a little bit of force on this gimbal bearing, it definitely takes a little bit to get this thing loose. Let me show you a little trick. I'm pretty strong, but you know, this is a little bitty Husky 250 millimeter crescent wrench. I'm gonna show you a quick little trick here. I'm not really sure what the official term is, but if you don't have one of these, you need to get one. It's just a piece of pipe, and we call them cheaters. And what we do is we put it on top of, crescent wrenches like this to kind of help increase the amount of, it basically decreases the amount of effort one would have to apply on something like this. As you can see, I went from having to work pretty hard, right, with both hands, now to just using one hand with the cheater. Super easy now. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and keep turning this, and the moment that gimbal bearing in there loosens up, I'll go ahead and hit play again for you. Okay. So after about, I don't know, a gazillion turns, this thing finally comes out. Take a look at that. Axle grease. Looks pretty good. Let's take it to my little bench. All right. Let's get this rod out. This particular gimbal bearing has been installed for, I'd probably say roughly, well, if you really want to know the date, check the video tag from when we installed it the first time. I pulled this thing out just for my viewers here so you could see me use this other tool. And I said, hey, while I got it out, I might as well put another one in. Why not, right? Okay, let's take a look at it here. Yeah, still feels pretty good. I don't really feel any issues inside the actual bearing itself. Yeah, pretty good. And you can see we notched it up right. I came to putting oil in here. So I'd say this one's still good. If I hadn't already bought another one, I would put this one back in. Kind of a shame, but it is what it is. We're gonna go ahead and put the new style one in. And anyway, this is, since we got it out, you can see, you see how this one has a lip on one side and not on the other? That's the whole reason. Well, that's one of the reasons why I believe that it's installed like that versus going this way. But I believe this one had a dot on it. No, it didn't. Yeah, anyway, so gimbal bearing's still good for all you viewers out there who are wondering, hey, you installed your gimbal bearing in backwards, you ruined it. And nope, definitely not the case. Still in really good shape. Anyway, let's go ahead and clean up. Well, let's go look at the housing and see what it looks like in there. All right, definitely greasy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean in there and get it nice and presentable. And we'll start part 2 of this video here in a moment. Well, for you, you'll just be able to click on it. For me, it's gonna be a few minutes. But yeah, I hope you liked part 1 of this video, removing the OMC / Volvo Penta gimbal bearing using the traditional tool with the gimbal housing installed in the boat. All right, so anyway, stay tuned for part 2 and have a good one. Until next time.